Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome back to a brand new camp build. And today we are taking a look at camp shelters once again. Looking at the second room today, the vault lobby. We're going to raiderify this place. So, let's jump in and take a look, shall we? So, before we get started, usual little spoiler warning. Of course, this is on the public test server. It is unreleased content, so if you're wanting to avoid seeing anything before it comes out, now will be the time to back out. We'll, of course, see a few bugs and bits and pieces as well. So, with that out of the way, let's jump into the build. So, we're up on the upper level here. We're going to do a few bits and pieces with this one. So, as I say, raiderifying the place, and it's kind of a bit-by-bit build, this one. It's also kind of build that you can just keep on going with because of the space we're in, and there's plenty of budget. We only get about halfway through on this, which is really cool. And it's just one of those builds where you keep on scrapifying the place until you run out of any room. So I had to kind of tell myself to stop a little bit on this one, so had some fun. But the idea here, first and foremost, is our Raider Leader's Throne. So we're going to create a sort of raised platform stage for that one. I'm lining up the two floors that I've snapped on the front there as sort of a guide for where I want the centre of this stage, I suppose, to go. So lining up with the doorway as well in the centre of those two floors and just lifting that up a little bit. I had a few little issues with this. My initial thought here was to try and get stairs all the way around it, which is sort of similar to what I did with the build back in the Ash Heap forever ago. But unfortunately, for some reason, it doesn't want to snap through the floor in here. It's one of the few restrictions remaining in this place, which is a bit annoying, but hopefully Bethesda will sort that in time. It is on the test server after all. But I tried this, and it worked quite well. So kind of running with the idea that this is an abandoned vault that the Raiders have taken over and grabbed whatever they can and made use of it and dragged in whatever they wanted to drag in and that sort of thing. So it comes out quite well, I think. But with this floor lifted just a little bit up like that, I'm able to drop the stash boxes underneath, which is very, very convenient. And the reduced restrictions actually make this a lot more flexible, and I'm really happy with how this came out. So, nudge this in a little bit, and then repeat around the back. There we go, that last one in. Now we just select it, and it'll drop straight on the top. Very nice. Now I need a kind of stairway, which I've established is going to be a slight problem. So we'll improvise a little bit. I'm going to use stash boxes again. Unfortunately, being on the test server, we've got only a limited selection of tools available, which is... it increases the challenge a little bit, but we manage. So let's lift that back up and nudge it under a bit, because it's a bit too close there to get that underneath. There we go. Sticking out a bit too far for that top step there. Do want some room in front of it so we can get past. And just looks a little bit more even with it tucked under like that. Got a couple more stash boxes in the front there. Useful little tip here. If you can't get the thing to sit back as far as you would like it to, nip around the side like that. Because for some weird reason, once you can see the gap, the game sort of remembers the gaps there. It's not every time you're doing something, but on occasion that does make things a bit easier to just nudge them a bit closer together. Especially with the increased flexibility inside the camp shelters, which is really, really cool. So, I want a back wall on this and a roof. And for this I'm going to use the brick wall, as we've just seen. But I want the brick facing sort of towards where the chair is there, rather than what would be the inside wall. So we're kind of putting it on back to front. But to snap it on, we're having a slight issue there. As you can see, it doesn't want to snap the right way around. And when we do get it to snap the right way around, it floats off the back. So that won't really do. But we turn off the snapping, which is an awesome option that Bethesda have added into camp shelters. We can then spin it round and just manually position it. Unfortunately, the roof, which I snapped in first so that I could make sure it was in the right place, is now getting in the way. So we're going to have to come up with a slight workaround here. Go back to the regular camp techniques. We'll stick the snapping back on. And we'll snap another one onto the side of it. Fortunately, because we're in here, it doesn't mind that the roof's floating. Come on. There we go. A little persuasion required. And now we can just spin this around, get it positioned the right way, if I remember to turn the snapping off. Just carefully line that up. And that should about do it. Nice. Now we can just snap the roof back in. So if it was any further over, it might be a bit of an issue with the clipping there, but the wall might be getting in the way. But because it's right on the edge, it's nice and forgiving. We're able to get that roof in just where we want it. We'll get a couple of railings on, and then remember I want to do something else first. Because I want a couple of extra posts on the front just to support this front edge of the roof. Once again, the ability to turn off snapping comes in very handy. No need to work around with the stairs and the upper floors to get this to snap on the corner. We can just drop it in manually. Stick that in, and get a bit closer so we see what we're doing. Come on, line that up. Nice. Now we'll repeat on the other side. Try not to fall off. Try and make sure these are the same way around as well, just so they match. Nice. Now we can get the railings back on, which, because we put it on the corner there, will still snap into place. Could manually put them in and not use the snapping, I think, as well. If I had to, but in this case, not a problem. There we go. So, that's the basic structure. We'll decorate it a bit later, and we'll move on. So, if we're going to raiderify this place, we want it to look nice and fortified. And putting a few guard posts facing towards the vault door there is definitely the way to go. But I also want to kind of hide the vault a little bit, because with the basic setup, obviously, it looks quite clean. For an abandoned vault, it's in very good nick. So I want to kind of cover it up a bit, kind of make it look a little scrappier. It also has the added bonus of making it look less like you're just building a house or whatever, in this case, inside a pre-existing structure, which can look a bit weird, as I've said before. So by sort of covering it up and putting a few things in place to draw the eye away from the vault walls, we're able to kind of camouflage it a little bit. It's still obvious what we're doing, but it just makes it look a little bit more organic and a little bit more like it belongs. So what I'm doing here is just pushing these walls right as far back as I can, right up against the edge here. It actually wants to snap a bit further in, so we've got the snapping off, but moving that guard post out of the way because it was getting in the way of the top there. Just able to position these in. Unfortunately, as we've mentioned previously, the pieces don't quite fit. For some weird reason, there's an edge or a section around the edge that you can't ostensibly build on. So, slightly annoying, but once I put some more structures and stuff in here, it will conceal that quite well. And a little bit of decoration as well. So we'll get these guard posts repositioned. I want them set on the top as far forward as they can go, but still looking like they're supported. I'm going to use the lines on the tiles here and that little pattern on the right just to make sure we've got it in the right position. And we'll repeat over this side. There we go. Unfortunately, those sort of checked pattern on the left there does mark the edge of the ostensibly buildable area. You can kind of work around it and push things outside, but the edge of the snapping zone is there. But it does provide a nice little marker to eyeball things and line things up with so they kind of match. So, nice. We are making progress. But I don't like the fact that the tall walls are hiding the stairs too much. So we're going to swap these out. Just going to manoeuvre a half wall in here. There we go. This is being nice and cooperative. And we'll drop an angled one on the top, follow the line of the stairs. Much more organic, much cooler looking. And we'll repeat on this side. Here we go. And drop another angled one on the top. Nice. Already starting to form our basic premise. Still got the same sort of shape of room, which is cool, keeping the vibe of the place going, but also making it a bit scrappier. Just right next on the top there. And I want to hide this bright yellow thing in the middle, so we can drop another half wall in here as well. Look at that tall wall, which will snap on the back there. Quite handy, but it's way too tall, so we'll snap a half in instead. Nice. So, back upstairs. Now we've got some big spaces to fill up, and with limited tools available, it's kind of a challenge here to make it look reasonably scrappy and raidery, so I'm going to have to settle for chucking whatever we've got in wherever we can. So we're going to start off with a couple of these guard posts. Nice, huge, and very raider looking. Most of the decent raider stuff that we have available in the main game on the live servers, unfortunately, is not available on the test servers at the moment because it's mostly Atomic Shop stuff, and the overwhelming majority of the Atomic Shop stuff is currently disabled, so slightly inconvenient, but we'll make do. These guard posts covered in barbed wire and stuff do give that raider vibe quite nicely. There's some odd exceptions to the things that we are allowed to use in here, on the test server anyway. Now, that Blood Eagle totem, also a atomic chop item. Apparently that's fine. Very, very strange. But what I'm doing here is just using this floor piece to kind of form a guide for where I want the walls to go, because I'm going to take it out in a moment. The idea is to have roofs on top of the walls that then match up with the edge of the vault wall. So I need a guide there so that I can see how far out to position the walls. Actually want the shorter walls here. So create the structure a little lower, a bit more of a lean-to vibe. Drop that onto the floor. Just get it into place. Gotta be a little careful because both a blessing and a curse that we can actually place anything just about floating, as we have done with this floor, works with the walls as well. It means you have to be a little careful about where you position things, otherwise you'll find them floating later, which can be inconvenient. But we've managed. So we're going to snap the roof on, snap another roof over here, and we get in on the end. And now we can just snap the half wall straight to the bottom of the roof. Nice. And we can decorate this in a bit. Definitely don't need an extra wall on there. Can't fit a door in, so... yeah, alright. So, onto the other side. The snapping's being slightly inconvenient. I have put another floor in here, initially as a guide, but I've changed my mind on what I'm going to do, so we'll ignore that. And we're just going to line up with the edge of the wall here. Once again, it's a little wider than it needs to be, but that allows us to get sort of in around the back, which seems we've got no choice but to have it. I'm going to make use of it. But, wall in, it's kind of lined up with the wall of the vault there. Not perfect, but that's just going to work with the raider vibe. Once again, with the snapping off again, we're going to line up with the floor here. Just tuck this one on the end. Obviously, as much as it's a good thing that you can just position things freehand however you want, if you want them straight, that can be kind of annoying when you're bypassing the snapping. So, once we've got that first one in, once again, we'll snap the roofs on the top like this, and use that as a guide to make sure everything else is lined up properly. Here we go. Snap another wall in there. Yeah, man. There we go. Nice. Now we can get in around the back if we want to. Get the roof over this bit. We put a flat roof up here, so put a bit of extra decoration on the top. Also don't want it feeling too tall. Plus, I suppose it would hide that guard post as well, so another reason for having a flat roof. Then snapping the angled one in to give us a guide for snapping in the half one on the bottom. I'm actually could change those angled ones out for greenhouse ones just to mix up the textures a little bit in a bit. But you get the general idea. And this will eventually become a bedroom. Sort of dormitory style thing for the lower ranked raiders. So we're going to close off this front area a bit to make it a little more enclosed, a little more scrappy, a little more fortified. It's quite a big open space still. So we're going to use these massive defensive walls, which I don't have a lot of occasion to use, but because we've got a nice even flat floor here, they're pretty easy to work with. Nice high ceilings as well, makes it a lot more convenient. Again, they don't quite match up, which is slightly annoying, but we'll manage. I did want to snap this in at a 45-degree angle, which you can normally do, but for some reason it's been a little uncooperative with it here, so we'll do it manually. Take advantage of the adjustments in the system. Does have the added bonus of making it appear a little more scrappy, and means we can line these things up quite nicely. And very conveniently, we can get this perimeter wall frame to fit perfectly in the gap. Another added bonus to the camp shelters changes, we can actually put this in without snapping it to a staircase now. It's a definite bonus. Just a little bit of repositioning, which is good. Now, to get our potential guards up the top here, we're going to need a staircase. It won't snap through the floor, but on this occasion, neither will the perimeter railings, so that basically means they're, as a default, the right height, so that's pretty cool. Now we can sort of twist it around, put it on at a bit of an angle so it will follow the wall, take up a little bit less room, which we wouldn't be able to do with the sort of regular setup in the camps, so that's pretty cool. We'll get some railings on here. No idea if this was a thing that you could do in camps regularly or not, but inside the shelters, one cool little thing I did notice. The half railings will actually snap onto the long edge. You can snap two of them on next to each other, which is cool. Especially for this build where I want things looking particularly scrappy. They're a little less tidy than the long ones, so that worked out quite nicely. Quite pleased with how that looked. You see I've thrown a few bits of decoration in the meantime. Unfortunately, however, along this edge, we can't actually snap the half ones in, so we'll have to stick with the full-length ones. So, one last thing I want to show you before we move on and I start decorating is this rather cool little bed I put together for our raider leader, which is utterly bonkers, but I quite liked how it came out, so I thought we'll have some fun showing you this. So, up in the top room here, we can drop the bed right in the middle of the room. Stick a sleeping bag on there, so he's got some form of covers. The Vault-Tec beds are well and good, but it wouldn't really look right in this build, I don't think. A couple of bedside tables in there. Getting over the metal ones, keep that raider vibe, scrappy vibe a bit. Even though they've managed to find a nice bed and drag that in there for him. And we'll get some more flamethrowers in, because as you'll see in the tour in a bit, this guy clearly has a thing for fire. Absolutely says nothing about my personality, honest. We'll get those dropped on the bedside table, because who doesn't need a flamethrower on the bedside table? I'll go drop that stash box cabinet in the back. Get the Blood Eagle totem on the top for an epic looking bed. But I like this so much, I might have to do some kind of variation on it in one of my regular player camps at some point. So, now we're going to wire this all up so he's got a switch next to his bed to trigger all the flames and stuff. Because, why on earth not? It's the kind of crazy thing raiders do. Bit of a faff trying to get this wired up though. I don't know if it's change or not, but the Blood Eagle totem needs wiring up and it connects to the corner of the wing, so make it a bit of a faff to get this to work. One other slight problem we did have is that putting that switch directly onto the flamethrower was a bad move, because the flamethrowers have a habit of breaking and they take the switch with them. So we'll have to move that in a moment. Rejig things a little bit. Try not to set myself on fire. Slightly risky business doing this. Fortunately the totem is a little too far forward there, so I can't quite get that cable to go between the two flamethrowers. So we'll pull it back a little bit. Put the wire in and then reposition it. Still not going to go all the way forward, but it'll get pretty close. There we go, still looks pretty good. A little adjustment needed. Come on. There we go. Nice. Or nasty, or one or the other. Either way, you get the idea. So, they should now work, but apparently it doesn't want to. You see they're damaging themselves as they're being used. What have I missed here? There we go. Sometimes it just doesn't work. One short bit of repairing later, and we'll wedge this switch onto the edge of the bed. Stick it to the bed frame. I wouldn't mind a smaller version of this, because it's a bit ridiculously large for what we're doing here. But it does work. Now there are other switches available, but they look every bit of as obnoxious as that one does. So with that in place, let's give it a go again. Oh, still one more bit of wiring to do. I've missed one. Or somehow removed one, anyway. Oh! Yep, somehow the generator is no longer connected. There we go, figured it out now. So let's give it a go. Epic. So, with all that sorted, let's decorate this place up and then have a look around. So here we go. As I say, limited resources available, so there's a bit of repetition going on and some odd choices here and there. But it does look pretty scrappy, pretty intimidating, and nice and raidery, I think. A few of the heads up there, a load of stash boxes dumped around. A few bone charms, which I don't think I actually have a plan for in the main game. So, cool to have those. Unfortunately, these fire barrels are still putting out blue light for some weird reason. Makes no sense. You'd think they'd have fixed it by now. I do still wish we could delete the existing lights in this place. Hopefully that's something Bethesda will get on during the course of testing, because it would look a lot better if we could make this place nice and dark. Certainly something like this would look much, much cooler that way. Squeeze our way through all the detritus and into the bedroom. Bit of a tight squeeze here. Weird thing I noticed while we were doing the tour, walking around this place with the walk mode toggled rather than the usual run mode, it's actually much harder to get through small gaps than when you're running. For some reason, when you're running, you just go straight on through. Odd set of circumstances, but is what it is. All manner of mishmash beds made up in there. There's tables and stash boxes and all manner of things. So keeping it scrappy, keeping things mixed up a little bit. A little dining area over on this side. Improvised a bit for the cooking area. Thought even radios are not dumb enough to set fire to the floor of the building they live in. Or maybe they are, who knows. So, shack number 2 is our little Chem Lab. Squeeze a couple of chemistry stations, a few bits and pieces in here. Plus the brewing station as well. Looks reasonably good, I think. Squeeze on out and have a look upstairs. You see what I mean here with the decorating. We literally keep on putting stuff in here and making it more and more scrappy and more junky. Pretty much to your heart's content. As I say, there's pretty much half the build budget still left when I had finished this, so loads of room to build. Put a couple of walls on top of the little chem shack there because I wanted to, again, just kind of camouflage the walls of the vault a little bit. They're a little bit too in your face there. You can still see them, but you kind of, I think your eye drifts over them, so I kind of like that in the other places. Head on up and have a look around. Once again, just piles of rubbish dumped in to kind of dress it up, make it look a little bit more scrappy. Squeeze in, have a little look at this throne. Blood Eagle totem up on the top. Looking suitably epic. And a nice switch for all of the fire. Conveniently, although the flamethrowers still break, they're not destroying anything else, which is always a bonus. There we go. Nice little cycling light to give it a splash of red light. So that's cool. So have a little look around the back here. Took a few bits and pieces behind the guard post as well, just to dress it up a little bit more. So I could keep on going there and try and hide the walls a little bit more if I really wanted. Equally, if you really wanted to, you could sort of manually place wooden walls all over the vault walls and conceal them pretty well that way. You'd still be left with a few gaps, I think, but looks quite good. Done the same thing there at the back there, just dropped a few walls and doors on the back here just to kind of cover it up a little bit. We have our epic bedroom. So, this crazy raider leader needs a second throne in his bedroom for some reason. So there we have it. Load of stuff pushed together, nice and scrappy. A couple more flamethrowers, as you do. Good. This is the entrance to the vault utility room tucked in there if he needs to make a quick getaway. Little area to chill out, have some chems. Pool table. His ensuite leaves a bit to be desired, but can only work with what we've got. And there's had a bit of space here. I thought he probably enjoys doing unpleasant things to people, so made him a little bed of nails. There's a couple of the traps and a few punji boards as well, just to dress up the top of a table there. There we are. Nice and epic. Try not to burn ourselves as we set the bed on fire. Awesome. I do love that. I'll put a picture of this up on Instagram as well. Quite happy with a couple of these set pieces. 2 thrones and this bed in particular. Epic. I feel like there's a certain Kings of Leon song, I can't remember, that should be playing at the point that's being operated. But let's not go down that road too far. A couple more wooden walls on the inside just to dress it up, hide the windows as well, give our guy a bit more privacy. A couple of bits and pieces just beside the stage there to just flesh it out a little bit more. Squeeze a couple of workbenches in there, which are a bit of an afterthought. Almost forgot to put those in. So added those to the junk piles because they kind of blend in quite nicely. And there we go. One epically raiderified vault lobby with plenty of room left to keep on adding to it if you so desire, which is very, very cool. So, do hope you folks enjoyed that one. If you did, please do hit those likes and subs always. It's very, very much appreciated. Social media links, merch store, and channel memberships all available down below the video if you'd like to support the channel in that way. It's humongously appreciated. And if you get the chance, do join us for one of the live streams as well. We're having tons of fun playing both Fallout and pushing on with some Horizon Zero Dawn as well now. So, Very, very cool. Got something cool coming up for Halloween as well, so I hope you'll join us for that. For now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.